Water is key to healthy living and part of our daily routine. For some of our students with visual impairment, simply getting a glass of water can be a challenging task. Let's look at some ways of making it less daunting. There are two methods of pouring cold drinks. It is important to learn to pour drinks without a liquid level indicator, because there will be occasions where one is not available. Set up in an organised manner so that everything needed is already available. Many students with visual impairment worry about making a mess or spilling something. Take away that potential barrier, either by having a tea towel and then laying the equipment on top of that, or by placing the items in a tray with a non-slip mat underneath. Both methods work well. With the first, any spillage is absorbed, and with the other, the liquid can be collected and tipped down the sink. If adding squash, you will need a location plate and a small spoon. There are two types of stance that can be used when pouring. The first stance is front on, so the student will pour facing the worktop. The second stance is where the student is leaning on the worktop, so they are more relaxed and there is no pressure on the shoulders. When using squash, there are many different types of bottles. A smaller bottle is better because the student can get their hand around the container, and one that is half full is much more effective than a full one. Using a jug. When using a jug, the student will need to align the jug spout with the beaker. The student places the finger inside the beaker up to the first or larger knuckle, and then uses the tip of the finger to identify when to stop pouring. When adding squash, the student moves the finger so that it is inside the beaker, up to the second or smaller knuckle. Lifting the squash up, the student checks, using another finger, that the bottle is over the top of the beaker. Then they pour the squash up to the fingertip again. Finally, give the squash a stir to ensure that it disperses through the water. Using a tap. In order to avoid any wet sleeves, the student will need to know the layout of the sink, the tap, and the way the head moves. They need to have their fingers in the beaker, and they need to support the beaker with the rest of their hand. The student turns the tap on and checks that the flow of water is not too fast and that it is definitely cold. Following the jug method, the student will just fill to the bottom of the finger again and then turn off the tap. There are different types of liquid level indicators. There are ones that beep, ones that purely vibrate, and ones that sound like a cricket. The liquid level indicator has longer prongs that go further down into the beaker, and then a shorter prong which gives a different tone or vibrating speed. When using the tap, make sure the flow is not too fast and don't pour the water over the top of the liquid level indicator. As water reaches the longer prongs, the liquid level indicator will start to beep. At that point, the student can pour in the squash and the second beep will happen.
If you'd like more information about how to support a visually impaired student, we hold free events throughout the year to mainstream professionals. These events offer practical support and advice on how you can include visually impaired students in your lessons. They are suitable for teachers, TAs and parents of a visually impaired student. These events are run throughout the academic year, with dates and booking available from our website.